Awesome. We are live today with Phivo from Augustine Approved, and we're super excited because we're going to be talking about something that we get asked all the time, and so many pet parents want to know more about this topic, which is natural parasite prevention. So we're super excited. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's so good to catch up. It's been a while. So, yeah, I understand you've got lots of questions. So, um, what's the weather like over there, by the way?
It's kind of warm during the day, quite hot during the day right now, but really cold in the evening. So, yeah.
Cold, really?
Yeah. So
I was saying to a friend the other day, I thought the UAE would have the biggest power bills in the world for all your air conditioning, the biggest power bills.
yeah, it's funny actually because in the evening, because we don't have heat in the houses, so it's really cold at night. Like, yeah, quite cold
Yeah.
house as well. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, yeah. Great to catch up. Talk to me.
Right. Yeah. So we would like to really focus on natural deworming and natural flea and tick prevention today because, you know, a lot of dogs over here in Dubai, they get the flea and tick treatment once a month, some every 3 months, and then on top of that, a deworming tablet. So we do see a lot of dogs that go through all of that, and there are natural options that a lot of people just don't know about. So we really like to talk more about that today. And yeah, maybe you want to talk a little bit in general, and then we can address the questions that we got from our audience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think because I kind of see all angles. I see from the parent side, I see from the veterinarian side. Everyone's trying to do the right thing, obviously. But the trouble is that you've got different schools of thought. So obviously, if you go to a veterinarian that's trained in Western medicine, that's all centered around pharmaceuticals and surgeries for pretty much and for the majority of what they do. So we cannot expect them to be recommending natural products. They're not trained in them. That's not their focus. Much like you wouldn't come to me and expect me to recommend chemotherapy for cancer or something like that. That's not my forte. That's not what I believe in. So in regards to parasite products, you said something there which you said about every 3 months or every month.
Yeah.
And I think we need to remember that just because these products say that's how often you need to do it, it doesn't mean that on the first day of the third month it stops working. Just like vaccines, or every month or every year, sorry, you need to vaccinate. It doesn't work like that. Like, it doesn't magically stop working on that date. What they're trying to do, I mean, vaccines is a bit different because the science says that most of them can last for at least 7 to 10 years, if not for life. And there's a lot of gray areas there as well. So this annual vaccinating is not even actually scientific. But with the parasite products, what we're seeing is that they can cause harm because they're insecticide based. And I think they should always be given in a risk versus reward basis. That's what I do with everything. So let's say, for example, I mean, we're in Melbourne here. We're very fortunate. I don't think I've ever seen a tick in Melbourne. Up north, for example, or I'm not sure what the situation is in Dubai. Is it a heavy tick area in Dubai? Is it a problem? Or
heavy, but we do have ticks.
are they paralysis tick? Are they life-threatening ticks? Or
So we do get occasionally pet parents who contact us who say that their dogs do have tick diseases, but I mean, yeah, then again, it's a whole faceted approach, right? So like for us personally, we take Milka to the desert all the time. We take her to hiking all the time, and we've only ever had one tick on her, and yeah, that's in 5 years.
and fine, yeah.
So
Wow. So this is what I mean about risk versus reward. Like, let's say somebody lives up north and they're in areas where there's dozens and dozens of ticks that can be on a dog a day. There are natural options, but if you feel that you're not comfortable with that and you don't want to take any chances, some people, fine, go and use the chemicals, but also remember that nothing is going to stop a tick jumping on your dog or biting your dog. It's what happens when they bite the dog. So we still see people where their dogs are injured from ticks because they're still getting bitten. They might die after biting them. So the insecticide-based parasite products essentially work by, they're in the system, they're in the bloodstream. So you've got this constant poison in the system, and you're relying on the parasite to bite the dog to then have effect. Also on that, same with internal parasites. You're creating an environment, you're basically bombing the body. And what I find dangerous, because I've seen a lot of dogs come to us where they are, I won't mention any names obviously of some of the big brands of the parasite products, but the trouble with the studies that they do is they will get the healthiest dogs. A lot of them, they will actually put the dogs down as puppies once they've done the studies, and they'll dissect them to check for any damage, but there's not necessarily any long-term testing there. They just meet the minimum requirements, and also if a study fails, they don't need to publish that study. They can just rework the study, and so you're in a situation where they are guessing how much poison they can put in the body without killing or visually early on harming the dog, and trying to get a result. And every dog is different, every person is different. That's why nature, at least the body recognizes natural products. They're a lot more gentle. And that's the old age argument, isn't it? That you have a poison that's very strong, and they will argue that nature is not powerful enough and it won't work. So you're either going to die from the poison or you're going to die from the disease. I think we found something in the middle that seems to work quite well. But we're on the right track. It's probably making a lot of common sense, right?
Exactly.
But the trouble is, I can't speak for Dubai, but in Australia, we have this thing where it's systemic. It's like veterinarians saying, basically, what do you mean you're not giving a tick product to your dog or heartworm? They're making people feel bad. It's like they're doing the wrong thing. But for example, when you look at heartworm in Melbourne, there's bugger all chance because of the weather, the climate, the way that the incubation period is for heartworm, especially in Melbourne Metro. Like, we have people living in high-rise apartments in the city, with little fluffy dogs that are inside 98% of the time. Where are they getting bitten by a mosquito? But they get bullied. They go into a veterinarian and they're like, what do you mean you're not doing this? What's wrong with you? So, and that's why I mean risk versus reward. But I'll let you, I've ranted on a bit. I'll let you jump in.
No, we see the same thing happening over here, and it's just a shame that the talk about like natural option isn't there at all. But actually, something that Larry and I just talked about today, as we were preparing for this live, is also that so all of these chemical natural dewormers and chemical flea and tick treatments are prescribed or given, and we see it over here all the time, and Facebook groups recommend it, and but nobody also ever talks about detoxing after using them. So it's not just that they're being over recommended and over prescribed to our dogs, but also nobody talks about the side effects and how we can help our dogs. Even like if you absolutely have to give this, there's still something you can do after or before giving that would help your dog get through it, hopefully without with the less of seeing.
But it's a lot of the time it's veterinary, like the reporting system for vaccine damage or parasite product damage. It's so difficult. Your everyday person doesn't know how to register a reaction. When I got little Faith as a rescue, I was already using, back then it wasn't a name, but it was Faith's Cleanse and Detox. I was using it on Augustine. It was working really well. It even fixed up her skin. It was great. And I said to the lady in rescue, I don't want to give this chemical that you're giving me. She said, I'm sorry, but it's rescue protocol. You have to. Before I leave, we're doing it now.
Yeah.
And what can I say? I gave it to her. Faith was very violently ill for 24 hours. Okay. Lucky I had product to detox her and I knew what I was doing. And never again. I ended up adopting her. She, you know, at the time she was just a foster. So I've seen it firsthand. I have a customer who, she had 3 dogs. Gave them the same parasite product, the chemical one. All 3 of them nearly died. All 3. So you cannot, it's irrefutable. You know, it's not this one happened to already be ill or, and this is my hunch. I'm just, again, I sit back and I observe and I think when you look at how science is done, if you use a multitude of natural products, talking things that are from nature, not necessarily things that dogs would find in the wild. I mean, in the wild, for example, they're not going to go and find turmeric. You know, they're not going to have coconut oil. But the thing is, there's a very big difference between doing things that are not in a dog's nature, but they're still supporting nature, versus giving a chemical that's so foreign to the body. So my observation is there's a couple of big brands of tick products where we're constantly seeing in the Facebook groups, people are making the claim that my dog was fine, took this product, severely ill or has passed away. And my observation is when they did the studies on these products or when they did the studies on vaccines, they've never done them together. So what do we do now when we get puppies? We go and do the vaccines, which any good veterinarian or any good human doctor will tell you as well, that a vaccine will alter, at the very least temporarily, will weaken or lower the function of the liver and the kidneys. And what do the liver and the kidneys do? They filter toxins. But then straight away on the same visit, you're getting a parasite product. So you're putting a poison in the body and the liver and the kidneys are not functioning correctly. I don't think they did that in the studies. And that's why we're seeing more dogs being injured. And the trouble is, once you have a product registered with, whether it's the TGA or the APVMA or the FDA and all these government organizations that are set up to protect our animals, once they're registered, what we're seeing is they're very rarely, if ever, going to come off the shelf. They'll put a million warnings, but that's after thousands and thousands of, you know, reported reactions. But once you're registered, you're basically safeguarded. Whereas if you're a natural product that's not registered, on the unlikely event that anything goes wrong, what happens automatically? You're, you know, they come after you. Excuse me, I'm just going to shut my email program down because I didn't realize that was still on. We don't want to make any noise. Yeah.
And you know, it's actually really interesting that you just mentioned this, because I haven't really thought about exactly that, what you just said, which is we are giving them a poison in the same exact visit as we're injecting a vaccine, which actually, oh, wow, like that is actually, I never realized that really that happens in the same exact visit, and it's definitely not
because we have to ask. I was thinking to myself, they've done the studies, they claim it's safe. I know there's a lot of gray area there, but when are these dogs getting it? You know, when? There was a dog in Northern Territory. The ladies rang a retailer of mine and said, I want to thank you, my dog passed away, but you gave an extra 2 years of life because it had one of those products and it nearly died. And we've just done an autopsy and found that the dog didn't have any adrenal glands at all.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, that can't be right. They've been burnt out. The dog wasn't alive without adrenal glands. They've been burnt out, you know, because it's just, this is the stuff that happens.
Wow.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating, you know, because the lack of warnings is really not put out there, you know. We don't see it enough, you know, like when we think about the flea and ticks, we hear the recommendations of the specific brands, but the warnings are just like really lagging.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for like social media platforms, the pet parents around the world just really wouldn't know like how dangerous these products really are.
And like, especially over, can we say this? And this is for everyone watching live. You're gonna hear this a lot today. Can we say this? Are we allowed to say this?
You know, but like you'll get the idea about what we're about to say, and this doesn't only happen in this region of the world. I see it happen in other places, but specific laws in different countries are much more strict than others. And some of these brands, they exist all around the world, you know, they're everywhere. But what we've seen is you take one product, it sells in America, and you take that same product, it sells in a different part of the world, but the labeling for this same identical product will be completely different, and without the disclaimers of warnings of pesticides being in it, insecticides being in it, and this product can cause harm, do not touch it, you know, things like this. And we've seen like, wow, the same product has all these claims in America, but it's completely lacking in other parts of the world. I was completely shocked by this, you know. We've had cases where dogs died after taking these products. And when we look at it, it's like, you would have no idea that, you know, this is a not safe product.
You know, Larry, I've thought about it a lot, and there's two things I want to say on that. Firstly, it's a catch-22. I understand with veterinarians or the Western medicine, what they have over natural medicine is they've systemized everything. So let's say you have cancer, knock on wood, not you, but you know, someone has cancer. They'll go and they'll be told, your particular cancer, you've got a 27% success rate for this cancer, and chances are you're not going to make it, but they're so well structured that's you'll go and do the treatment, and chances are you won't make it, but we'll thank them for trying. You go to a naturopath, they'll tell you to do this. You go to a different naturopath, they'll tell you to do that. You go to a different naturopath, hold it. There's no system. And any of them, if you don't make it, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, like, because, you know, naturopaths will get in trouble. But what you were saying there, it's hard because the catch-22 is, I understand that with parasite products, you need to systemize. That's what they've done. They're like, not everyone's going to be responsible. So it's easy to say, do your vaccine once a year, and do your parasite product once a month or every 3 months or every 12 months, and then systemized. And we'll make sure we give you a hard time if you don't, and make sure that, you know, but the trouble is we're constantly bombing the body with crap. And there's also the negatives of that. I think what we need as pet parents is everyone needs to be responsible. So onto what you were saying, if I had my way, because it's really difficult, there's no right answer here, but I'm always starting to lean to the point of, I'd rather do your own homework and be educated in what you're giving than them restricting what you can have.
Exactly.
Because the trouble is, the chemicals can get registered, they can be out there, but there's really no viable way for natural products to be properly registered. It's not financially possible. And a lot of the times it's not even possible to register because the guidelines, it's like you're trying to register a car using the system set up for a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So natural products can't get out there, and that's what I've been facing. So I'm almost at the point of put the education out there and be educated on what you're putting in your animal, rather than just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, this is all we talk about, you know, like just letting all the information out there and letting pet parents decide, you know, on what they want to do. If you want to, you know, feed this, feed that. But as long as you know what the options are, and that you're not only being told that there's only one option.
So talking about options, you kind of talked about it a little bit, but I think I really want to mention this for everyone who's listening right now and watching. Please, everyone who's watching, we're going to be answering questions later, so make sure you leave your questions in the comment section. But for everyone who's watching who might not know this, Faith, we have Faith over here, Faith's Cleanse and Detox, right? And this is a natural dewormer and flea and tick prevention protocol, but you're not allowed to actually say that on the labeling, which is crazy because here there are natural products that can actually help, but you're not allowed to say that on the labeling. So maybe you can speak a little bit about that as well.
Sure. Just one small clarification. In regards to ticks in the past, because this is, I can tell you on a legal level, historically, we've never made any claims about ticks. We've had mixed reviews about ticks. I've never done the studies. I've never taken the time. Again, we're in Melbourne. We can't test it. And I'll be very honest with that. I can talk to you about other products that are out there that work for ticks. With this one, I've had people swear by it and say my dog's never had a tick anymore. And I've had another lady that rang me and said, look, I heard on social media that this product is for ticks. My dog ended up in emergency. Being honest, again, and I explained to the lady, I said, you will never find me or any branding anywhere at any time that we've talked about ticks. There are naturopaths. There's one in Queensland. There are naturopaths that have homeopathic drops that they've had around for decades. This is not a new thing. You put some in water and it actually reduces a deadly tick bite or a serious tick bite to that of a mild cold. Okay. So that's something that you may want to bring in, but it is, it's not a secret. It's been around for a while, and this stuff works. By all accounts, what I've been told by the veterinarians there, this stuff really works. I know that they're getting it into some countries now where ticks are very prevalent and they're having good success. What I used to say about Faith's Cleanse and Detox, and I don't want to rant too much on about the legal side, but basically what I accidentally discovered when I brought Faith's Cleanse and Detox to market was that it was initially brought out because it was very effective at eliminating internal parasites. Okay. It's amazing for skin as well. We've actually had it listed as the complementary medicine with the TGA, which is the Australian version of the FDA.
Okay.
And so we can actually legally make claims for people. So women take it for candida or thrush. It's very effective and digestive stuff. It's amazing. The trouble is with the legislation in Australia, when it comes to animals, the legislation is about 30 years behind. So it's virtually impossible to register a parasite product that's natural for a number of reasons. And there lies the problem, because now what we have is, whether it's deliberate or indeliberate, we have the APVMA, which oversees animal products, essentially acting as henchmen or standover men for the pharmaceutical industry. If you get registration with them, doesn't matter if your products are harming animals, you can still have your products on the shelf. But if a natural product comes along, one like ours that has actually saved dogs from death's door before from those reactions, we've detoxed them, they don't want us to advertise them, so people can't know about it. And hence why we have a very big lawsuit coming up to change the legislation, because it's just bureaucracy. It's not about safety. It's not about efficacy. It's just the legislation is out of date, and we have people in power that abuse that privilege and only promote pharmaceuticals. I don't feel that they're interested really in the health of the animals. What they're interested is by the book, doing their job because they can, and they'll shut anyone down. Yeah. Crazy. Would you like to know what we used to say, like how it works?
Yes,
yeah,
please.
please.
Okay, awesome. So what I learned a while ago was that parasites are attracted to a weakened immune system.
Yes.
So the sicker you are, the more they like you. They just want to jump on and so on. these natural products, like many other products, remembering that my products are not the only products, there's so many ways that you can do this, but they help to strengthen the immune system by getting everything functioning correctly, expelling toxins and anything that would put an unnecessary load on the body. So firstly, that's your first line of defense there. It's not the best environment. Secondly, they alter the environment or the taste of the blood. So imagine when you go somewhere, like you're in a garage and you turn the car on and you can get all the fumes. The difference is this is a healthy version. You're changing the environment to something that is not conducive or not helpful to parasites. So they don't want to be there. So when it comes to fleas, what we noticed was if you come into general contact for fleas, they might jump on, they'll have a bite, they don't want to stick around. The time that they will stick around and so on is if the body is really damaged or weak, and if there's an infestation. You go for a walk and there's like 100 fleas jump on at once and they overload. That's when we had the F-off product made from Dynacol zeolite, which you put on, and unlike a poison, what it does when you put on the skin, zeolite absorbs moisture, so it would actually dehydrate them. Again, it's much better than a poison. The Fates Cleanse and Detox, when it comes to internal parasites, what we noticed over the years, and mind you, the recipe is made by a wonderful Melbourne man. He's been working with herbs for nearly 35 years now. Absolutely incredible. And the testing that he did there, and I've been involved in as well, thousands and thousands of cases. What we notice is when you change the taste of the blood, parasites basically can't survive in there. So when you see parasites coming out of the dog's bum, it's because they can't survive in the body. A lot of the time though, when we test dogs and we find they have parasites, and then we retest them after the product, we find they don't have parasites anymore, and the owners will say, but I checked the poo. There's nothing there. What's going on? They're already either too small or they're breaking down before they're exiting the body. Not to rant on, but what I love about nature is it does it slowly. And there's a reason. It's very important. If your dog already has parasites, you need to do it slowly. There's a lady in America called Robin Goff, and her son was diagnosed with autism. She was actually able to scientifically prove that the vaccine caused autism, but she was, I think, 2 days late by the statute of limitations to make the claim to get a payout. So the poor lady has had to care for her son all these years. And that's how dodgy the vaccine companies were. Basically, she proved that it was a faulty batch of vaccines. She started finding journals from the 1800s, medical journals. And what she was finding is they were saying that a child with autism, or a body that is full of mucus is full of inflammation, and it's the perfect breeding ground for parasites. So what we know about children with parasites, with autism, is that all their bodies, all of them, their bodies are plagued with parasites, and it's a constant thing. They can't get it under control. She actually removed and catalogued from the feces thousands and thousands of feet of parasites. She's been studying so much stuff for years. As gross as it is, she's very dedicated. And the things that I learnt and I kind of pieced together was that the parasites, how do I put this? When you bomb the body with a chemical to get rid of parasites, what you're actually doing is, this is why some children with autism have aggressive episodes. The waste of the parasites releases toxins in the body that are like amphetamines, ammonia, things like, so they're actually on a drug high. And that's why I've seen the puppy pass away, where they've given the puppy, it was full of parasites. They gave it a wormer and it ended up passing away anyway. Now you could argue that's because it was done too fast, too quick, and too dangerous. So what I love about natural products, again, mine's not the only one, but Fates Cleanse and Detox, we see it happens over a few weeks. So you might see it after 2 weeks, you might see it after 6 weeks, parasites start coming out. You're doing it gently, you're slowly changing the environment, You know, I haven't seen anyone in metropolitan sort of areas where their dog's plagued. It's more in rural areas where they find a stray dog, little puppy that's weak, and that's when they're infested. Yeah.
That was actually one question. Like, thank you so much for really explaining that. I think that's very good to know and important to know. One question that we had, actually, you just mentioned it a little bit, so that's what, yeah, you touched on it. So that's why I'm going to ask it now. How long would you have to use Face Cleanse and Detox to actually be effective in eliminating worms and parasites?
Great question. You can be parasite free right now. You touch a doorknob, you've got parasites. They're everywhere. I think this is the thing, again, the philosophical debate between Western and natural is they're focusing on bombing the body, sterilizing everything. The way that I view it is, you're always going to come into contact with parasites. You can't stop that. What it is, it's about living with parasites and not overloading. So the dog can eat something. I mean, they're sniffing the ground all day. They're going to get parasites. So trying to answer your question as best as I can, it's not, the difference is when you use a chemical, it lasts a minimum of 1 month, 3 months, and so on. And that's how you're doing it. With this, you need to do it, I recommend daily, or at least every second day, because it doesn't sit in the body. It's a cleanser. So it's leaving the body. So you're just doing it more regularly. And I appreciate that's a bit hard for some people. They want a convenient thing. But when they went to the pet store or the breeder or the rescue group and they told them it's cheap or easy to have a dog, it's not always the case. You know, we need to put in a bit of effort.
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, like, as you say this, and all of the conversations that we've had with other natural brands, you know, you guys are really pretty much saying the same thing. And one of the things that we always think about, and we think about it more as ourselves because we've been there, you know, as pet parents who thought, you know, feeding our dog was only going to cost $20 a month for the rest of her life, you know, and we thought, like, okay, we'll take her to the vet, and just like preparing, like, we'll always take her to the vet because dogs always go to the vet. But this is actually not normal. You know, it's not normal to think like you should always go to the vet, you know, but and to really figure out that there's really, you know, there's natural ways of doing things that do not require putting so many toxins into the body, because we're already exposed to environmental toxins. And, you know, if we can cut down on that in any way possible, it would be a really, really great idea.
Yeah, I remember spot on. Like, I remember spending some time with Dr. Karen Becker, and she's very eloquent and put things that, it's not always so much the things you don't know, it's just hearing it a different way. And I love that about her. You know, she talks about a reactionistic or reactive approach versus a proactive approach.
Yeah.
So yeah, traditionally I'd go to the vet once a year, get the jab and so on, and they say, yep, your dog looks fine, out you go. But that's not putting a plan into place, as Dr. Becker says, to keep my dog healthy. They're just waiting for something to break down, for something to go wrong before they do something.
Yeah.
And that's why I focus on a constant state of cleansing. I think it was one of the questions. Why do I recommend a constant state of cleansing? Because I'm not waiting for something to go wrong.
Yeah.
I'm all about reducing risk. I'm a bit of a daredevil. There are things that I will do and I'm a bit out there, but there's other things like my dog's health I don't want to risk.
Yeah.
So can my dogs get sick? Can they get cancer? Can they all? Of course they can. You know, we're all human. There's so many things that are out of my control. From, I don't want to use genetics because I think that's the worst excuse people use, but you know, there are things out there like pesticides on the grass and so on. They're not designed to come into contact with this stuff. So the way I view it is, I have to be doing something every day to be expelling toxins, because every day they're taking on toxins.
Yeah.
Recently, I try to put it into words, like just an easy analogy for people to understand. So let's just say that how many dogs do you have now?
One.
Just one. Okay. So much easier. Well, let's just say your dog takes on, let's call it units of toxicity, a general term. Okay, let's just say that every day you're doing all these wonderful things. You're feeding organic food, all fresh and so on. But every day you're stepping outside, the dog's walking on grass with pesticides. Think of how many planes go overhead, all the lead, the soil. Like you test your soil, you'd be quite surprised how many times the safe levels of lead and so on. All these sort of things that can go wrong over the years. The water clarity and so, like how pure it is, all that sort of stuff. So let's just say that we measure toxicity in units, and every day your dog is taking on 100 units of toxicity. And let's just say, I'm pulling a figure, I haven't done the math on this, but let's just say that your dog can handle 100,000 units of toxicity, or 50,000 units, whatever it may be, before they get a serious disease. Okay, because you're not doing anything, you're just feeding the dog. That's it, just feeding good food. So when you, again, whether you use other herbs or my products from Augustine Approved, you are reducing the toxic load every day. And let's say you're reducing it, you're getting rid of 85 units a day. Because anyone that tells you that they can get rid of 100% of toxins either don't know what they're talking about, or they're lying. There's always things that are going to be taken on. So to get to 50,000 toxic units where there's a disease, if you're getting 100 a day versus getting 15 a day, think about it. So we're just reducing risk. That is all that we can ever do.
And the 50,000 units that you just mentioned, just for clarity, you mean that in their life, not a day? So
no, in their life.
100
a day, 100 a day, say 50,000, and that's a broad number. Again, every breed is different, how they process things, size, weight, lifespan, and so on.
No,
little Mishka, I was going to say, my little Maltese, love her to death. She's a little brat. I believe the maximum lifespan for a Maltese is 15. I got her to 2 weeks shy of 17.
Wow.
She had the unhealthiest life, vaccinated every year till she was about 10. But she did have a couple of accidents, freak accidents. She was mauled once by a neighbor's dog, and then another little accident. She went downhill. I genuinely believe I could have gotten her to 20. But I hope that's a bit of a testament to, here's a dog that I didn't know anything, 10 years old, made the switch. It doesn't have to be from day one. And look where she was 17.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That was amazing. Yeah. So you touched on the question on why you recommended daily cleansing and a continuous cleansing. One question that I have, though, is in regards to the question we asked before. So I asked, how long does it take to actually deworm a dog if they had worms?
It depends. There is no straight number. It can be a couple of weeks to a couple of months on average, because you are doing it gently. If I may give you, I know it's a broad 2 weeks to 2 months, that's a pretty much average, but I'll give you an example. In around 2015, for a while, little Faith, my boxer, I didn't give her the product for a while. She started getting parasites. It took her a few weeks, and in the end, a dead tapeworm came out that was about this big.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. So, it's a big difference between a couple of eggs just hatched and, they can't survive, versus something's been growing for a while. But we've just found that it works across the board, like all these different parasites. There was a lady in, and I'd like to talk about heartworm a bit, if you don't mind, but
please.
There was a lady in Texas that emailed me and sent me the medical reports and said, my dog was diagnosed with heartworm. I purchased your product. I know you don't advertise it, but I'd heard that it can do this. That's all that I changed. And here's the results after the dog is heartworm negative.
Nice.
And we had done our own testing in-house in Melbourne and found that it is effective if you're doing it at least every second day. Again, we can't advertise it. But what I would suggest is a great article by Dog Naturally. I believe it's called "Why I Don't Give My Dog Heartworm Meds and You Shouldn't Either." Um, and I can give people, if you like, I have a temporary Linktree link while we're doing a new website. I'll have all my favorite links. You might have that one, I think. If you want to share it with people, I've got some of my favorite articles there, not necessarily stuff that I've written. And that heartworm one is one of them. And I really suggest save your money, save your time, and save the heartache. Read that article, because as you both know, heartworm, according to the article, is only deadly at around the 5-month mark. So we should be, if you want to be super safe, I don't want anyone to take my word for it and say, I'm not going to use this because you say so. What we should be doing is getting that blood test every 4 months, seeing where the dog is at. If they're negative, you don't have to worry. If they're positive, well, you can decide if you want to use something like, say, from Amber Naturals that's specific for heartworm from the US, if you want to use face cleanse and detox, whatever it is that you want to do. But this idea of constantly bombing the body, I think we need to change that perception. It's just not necessary.
Yeah, which, you know, is a good point as well, because a lot of people think that the deworming pill is actually prevention, where that's not. It's actually just killing if your dog had parasites or worms. So yeah, if our dogs doesn't have it, then
Charlie, I think what I see a lot of one of the most prominent things people come to me is all the bad skin issues. Okay, so when we talk about a constant state of cleansing, it's not just about those toxins. It's about the fact that we've got hormone disruptors, but all this stuff damaging the body. So firstly, if we can remove them from the body to begin with and not give them, it's great. But the reason all this skin is breaking down is because all this stuff, when you put a poison, you're disrupting the balance of the good gut bacteria versus bad bacteria and so on. So dogs, people, we all have the Candida albicans fungus inside us. It's natural. The trouble is it overgrows. It's a defense mechanism. So it overgrows. Skin is the weakest part of the body. So what happens? It can't come out, all that gunk can't come out through the digestive system. It's got to go somewhere. Itchy chin, itchy belly, itchy feet, and so on. So the face cleanse and detox, again, it's listed as a complementary medicine with the TGA here for people. What it does do, it helps to restore the balance of the gut to safe and normal levels. That's why you see some of those freaky before and after photos. I'm sure you've seen them in our magazine and so on. There's one dog in Singapore, it had a chunk like this of missing fur. It was all bloody. Yeah, I think it was about 2 months later, just by going on the products, it turned a corner. But yeah, it's I think that's the missing thing that people don't realize. You say to them, okay, when did the skin problem start? And they say, oh, I'm not sure, it was a couple of months ago. Okay, when was the last time you got a vaccine? A couple of months ago. Oh, funny that. And then what? Oh, then we did antibiotics. And then what? So the antibiotics are great at saving lives, but they also don't discriminate. They don't just kill the good bacteria, they kill the bad bacteria, they kill the good bacteria. So once you get a short-term relief and people say, oh my God, my dog's so much better, and then back to square one and it's back with a vengeance. So again, rebalancing everything is really important.
Yeah. We have a question here that you might want to address as well.
Sure.
Denise Taylor, she's asking, how can I treat Giardia effectively? And could she use faith to get rid of Giardia?
Yeah, sure. We've done this with the gentleman that came up with the formula a few times. He's a licensed practitioner, so I'm only speaking by what he told me, because I don't want to be accused of treating anyone. We have used face cleanse and detox, and to speed it up, I believe it was grapeseed extract as well. Is it Denise? Was it? If Denise would like to get in contact, I can put her on. I think there was one more thing we use, and I can put her on the track to fast track it if she likes. I can put her in touch with a gentleman, and he can guide her and make sure that. But yeah, we have done it a few times.
Okay, all right.
Quite a common one, yeah.
Yeah, Giardia, we get that every now and then.
Yeah. Do you want to ask
Yeah,
Claudia's question?
Claudia is saying she sends her dog to daycare, which requires the basic vaccinations. Can good food in combination with natural products such as Faith and Super Boost also help reduce the side effects or the side risk of the vaccines, similar to pesticide reduction?
Mm-hmm. Is it a legal requirement to get the vaccine, or is it just a policy?
So, I mean, so in Dubai, let's say, the only ones that are required by law would be rabies and parvo. Daycares require additional vaccines, such as
Kennel cough.
kennel cough, and
But is that policy or law?
so
It's
it's daycare policy to give these other vaccinations, and it would be law for rabies and parvo.
Yeah.
in Dubai.
So you said kennel cough is policy, and what was the other one for policy?
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Just
the deworming and the flea and tick treatment as well.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, I don't know if you have to show any evidence of the deworming and things like that. So that might be a non-issue. If they ask you, has the dog been wormed? You say yes, because I mean, in Australia, we don't have to show evidence of that.
Yeah.
Some places in Australia are accepting titer testing. I don't believe from memory kennel cough is one that they titer test for, but I think that is the biggest scam vaccine out of all of them. It was many years ago. All three of my dogs had the kennel cough vaccine. All three got it.
Yeah.
It's like the whooping cough vaccine for people. It's not going to stop the dog getting it. It's meant to reduce the symptoms. In my case, I don't think it's, reduced anything. So if you are obligated and the people are not willing to work with you or not be understanding, and I get where they're coming from as well, don't get me wrong, then yes, you would want to be detoxing. Alternatively, I'd be finding an alternative, maybe someone that can, someone from home that will be happy to look after dogs, and you pay them to look after the dogs during the day. Just because I've seen too much damage too many times. But yeah, to answer the question, if you can't, then yes, you'd be wanting to put some sort of a regimen or a protocol together to keep detoxing dogs, for sure.
And we probably should mention Dynacol zeolite as well in that regards, right? The heavy metals.
That we're like getting there, like.
Yeah, good segue. I've always found that zeolite is the one that people notice the least difference, but it does some of the most amazing stuff. Yeah, sure, we'll say Augustine Super Boost, within a few days, a lot of dogs are bouncing off the walls and they're seeing an improvement. Sure, with face cleanse and detox, you see the skin, there's all these other benefits. But with the zeolite, it's working on such a deep level. And just to let your viewers know, what it's really doing is it's binding to heavy metals and toxins primarily and helping to push them out through the digestive system. It's quite unique because in order to do that, it has like a honeycomb structure. So it has all these minerals in there, and it has a magnetic charge. Think that all the bad stuff essentially has a positive charge. Yeah, good stuff there. The zeolite has a negative charge. So what happens is, in order to bind to them, those minerals come out of the structure and it takes it. It's called cation exchange. It's just an exchange that happens in the body, and then it comes out. I know that people have used zeolite to detox miners, people that have had metal poisoning, in the mines and so on. I've seen some small miracles. Geez, I don't know what I can and can't say. Yeah, there's 4 cases of snake bites. A couple in particular, one lady I trust with my life. If I didn't know her, I wouldn't believe it. They live in the bush in rural New South Wales, and she said to me, my neighbour rang me at 10 something o'clock at night. Her dog was bitten by a taipan snake. She said, I went there, eyes rolling, frothing. It was, yeah. She said, I remembered what you told me. She said, we got a syringe every 10, 15 minutes. We were syringing zeolite mixed with water down the dog's throat. She said, I went back at 10 in the morning the next day to bury the dog, and it was walking around. By afternoon, it was running around the paddock. That sounds crazy, and I can't make these claims, but the
Wow.
way that I've always said to people is, I'm not saying don't go and get veterinary care. What I'm saying is, on your way to get veterinary care, or in this lady's case, she's 2 hours away from a vet. Dog was never going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
That is something temporary you can do. My little monsters once got into some manure, sulfur manure, nearly killed themselves. They were at my parents' house. They ate so much. They drank in less than 2 hours 6 liters of water. That's how dehydrated. But they got better when I just clicked on and I started giving them the zeolite. And if you ask any chemist, I'm not talking about a pharmacist, like an actual chemist that understands on a, studied for years, they will tell you that a proper, good quality zeolite is just a sponge for toxins.
Wow.
There's another vet I was told about by the man that used to distribute the zeolite to me many years ago. And he said, and I won't mention veterinarians' names, I know where they are, but he said the vet gave him feedback. He said, in 24 years, every single dog that I've ever seen baited, poisoned, we've lost them. So this time we had a dog that was baited at a local dog park. So I did what you said, just put the zeolite down the dog's throat with water. 4 hours later, the dog's back to normal.
Wow.
We've used it for food poisoning. So just think on an everyday level when you're healthy, what it's able to sponge up and take away. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, honestly, because we've done like so much research on all of the products we carry in our store, and the zeolite was really one of them. It's like I've tried to do so much more. I mean, I've done research on it to really understand exactly how does this work, and it's amazing that you just gave like the actual real life scenarios of how this can help dogs.
Yeah. Do you mind if I just share as well? Like, we have a human label as well. Like, the product is exactly the same. It's just a different label. And my mum swears by it. If she doesn't take it, her hair starts to thin out a bit.
Wow.
My old hairdresser, her skin would go bad because we're all deficient. So they're just getting the minerals that they need. There's so many studies. Someone that did damage to the cause, and normally I have a lot of respect. I think this is one time he got it wrong. Is Mike Adams, I think, the health ranger, I believe his name is.
Okay.
He did a whole hit piece on zeolite, but I don't think he fully understood the type of zeolite. They talk about heavy metals, like it contains lead and so on, but zeolite is so unique. It can't give you bad stuff into your body when it's proper. There's synthetic zeolites, man-made, that are crap, that obviously can cause damage. People use them in washing powders and things like that. But to give you an idea, I got myself tested and all my 3 dogs tested once. I was the only one not taking zeolite. I came back positive for lead. And all 3 of my dogs, no lead in their system, and we all drink the same water.
Wow.
So, and obviously I'm having different food to them, but yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Wow, amazing.
And the interesting thing as well is that zeolite and F-off is also the same exact product. So
Same
you
product.
can use it internally and externally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it absorbs moisture, people use it for smelly feet. It can kill a lot of the bad stuff in your feet. There's just so many uses. I believe I've got to find the study where they put it around plants, and there's a natural intelligence. It will hold water and release water at the right times. You put it around plants. Yeah, there's so much that it can do. I know that there's a kennel that uses it. They put it in all the beds in the kennel to prevent fleas because, again, it absorbs moisture. They can't survive. Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome. A question that we got earlier is also like, why is detox so important? We kind of already talked about that, and I think that we've answered the question. But if you want to add anything else to that.
All I'd add is you just got to ask yourself every day, what am I doing today?
Yeah.
To eliminate toxins. What am I putting in? Like, if I go out and I have a lot to drink one night with friends, I'm going to do something to counteract that. to offset. The next few days, I'm going to be eating healthy. I'm going to be drinking lots of clean water and so on. So life's a balance. That's all it is.
Mhm.
For somebody who might not know if they should be using Faith or Zeolite, is there, like, what's your take on that?
Sure. Two very different functions. You know, they hit different things. What I've indeliberately done is I've created a way, when you read our magazine, you watch the videos and everything, I'm sharing with you how I raise my dogs, and I'm sharing with you the staple, the basics. From there are many intricate things that we can do individual to each dog, like I do with my dogs. But this is the heart, the core basics that I recommend. So it's not a matter of one or the other. In an ideal scenario, if money's not an issue, everything works synergistically together.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And that's how I would be doing the boost, the Augustine Super Boost, the Faith Cleanse and Detox, and the Dynacol Zeolite, mixed with raw coconut oil. I think somebody had asked, why coconut oil?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Apart from making things very tasty, because obviously Faith Cleanse and Detox, you may know, is not very nice.
Yeah. I've tried it. Very
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually learnt now to block my nose when I drink it in water, so I can just, like that, like you basically, you don't even have to hold it, you just squeeze it and I block it and I drink and then I chase it down with something. But in what do you call it, apart from the taste, it's a driver. Obviously there's many health benefits to coconut oil, millions of them out there that you can read about. Obviously it's I should actually say this, it gets vilified because they talk about it being high in saturated fat.
Yeah.
That's why it goes hard when it's cold and liquid when it's warm. Yeah. But working with someone that's been around the whole coconut oil thing for the last 50, 60 years and seen everything from the outset, the view is there are good carbs, there are bad carbs, there are good proteins, there are bad proteins, there are good fats, there are bad fats. Just because it's a saturated fat doesn't necessarily make it a bad fat. Now, there are studies saying you should never feed coconut oil, it's the worst. 10 years from now, they're going to bring out another one to counteract that. You know, it's just intuitively, it's high in medium chain triglycerides. And the beautiful thing about coconut oil in a general sense is that it doesn't store. It goes straight. Dogs need fat for energy, right?
Mhm.
So it goes straight to the liver and gets turned into energy. Now, what happens when a dog has more energy? It wants to be more active. What
Yeah.
happens when it's more active? It stays leaner. And it's this cycle. And that's why dogs that are already diagnosed with, what do you call it? Pancreatitis, they say, can't give them fats. You need a low fat diet. Where do dogs get their energy from? Fat. So what happens? You know, fat is essential to them. So what I found, and it was just an intuitive thing when I made the fresh food recipes. The majority of our um, fat in our fresh recipes stems from coconut oil.
Mhm.
That's why all the dogs on our diet are shredded. They're muscly.
Mhm.
There's no excess fat. That's the way I like them. And it's this beautiful cycle of energy, exercise, slimness, energy, and and we just keep going around like that. But it is also a driver. If you put on skin with the super heel cream or anything like that, it helps to push nutrients in, and it just aids with absorption as well. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, honestly, I really like coconut oil, like because of these reasons, and what we know is that, talking about ketosis, like where do dogs get their energy? And it comes from fat. We know it doesn't come from carbs, so when we think about like the ketogenic diet for humans and dogs, because they have it for dogs too, is coming from fat. So, and like you said, not all fat is bad fat.
Absolutely. And vegetables. Can I just share this? Because
Yeah, please.
many years ago, I was introduced to Don Tolman, and it really just changed the way that I view things. There's a whole thing about the shape of foods. So avocados, they've done studies. Oh, firstly, what does an avocado look like when you cut it in half? A baby in a womb. It
Yeah.
takes 9 months for an avocado to ripen. They've done studies where they found that women that ate an avocado every day had no complications with birth and lost the baby fat really quickly. Celery, I think it's like, was it 23% sodium, if I'm not mistaken? It's the same, yeah. And then it looks like a bone, it snaps like a bone. I believe it's 18 or 23% sodium, same as the human bone. When there's so many, but also like so all this stuff Don talks about is saying it's basically made for us. But what I love, it's picking the right parts of the vegetables or the fruits. So for example, when you buy broccoli, what do we normally, everyday people think? We think the head of broccoli. That's what we want. The most nutritious part is actually the stem. Exactly. They leave it in the ground. It's crazy. Beetroot, it's all in the leaves. That's what you want more than anything. But how good is beetroot for the liver? So it's just picking the right parts of the vegetable as well, not just
Very interesting.
Yeah. We have just a few more questions. Maybe I think.
Oh shoot! Yep.
Yeah. Let's see.
Those are live questions.
Yeah, these are live questions now.
No, we got all of those. Yeah. So
what are those?
These.
So let's go. Do you believe that hair tests, like analysis, are an effective way of testing for dietary supplement changes or body needs? So, like, do you think that they would be effective in giving us information and nutrient deficiencies?
Great segue, because I love to answer this. The ones that I've seen out there, I'm not saying I've seen them all. I've found them to be very inconsistent. So you could send the same hair in every day and you'll get a different result. Ross Wilson at Coburg Health, he developed his with the help of a bioengineer. I believe it to be super accurate. They got a 99.9% accuracy rating with the vets at Flemington Racecourse. They gave them 8 horses to trial. Cool little story from back in the day. And then they were going to test, I mean, we're not into horse racing, but they were going to test every single horse in Australia that was competing. And they gave them one last test. They gave them a prominent stable to test. And they discovered steroids that no one else was picking up.
Wow.
So poor Ross got a knock on the door one night by a couple of heavies and was told, yeah, you won't be signing anything. Let's just leave it there. But I have seen him detect so many poisons, so many different issues where I've put him to a blind test. I knew what was going on, like physical things that you can see. He doesn't know. He's always come up. But his test isn't just about deficiencies. It's about all different ailments. The way that they're supposed to work, if it's done right, every part of your body has a frequency. We're electrical living beings, right? So there was a lady called Hilda Clark. I think she's passed away now, but she wrote a book where she recorded basically the frequency of the body and every ailment, every virus, every parasite, everything. So what Ross's test is able to do is it's testing every part of the body against every problem. Additionally, you can submit pieces of food, or some things that are in their catalog, and they can test against those things. And they can tell you if your dog should or shouldn't be having those things. So the question was, is it accurate? Yes, but the issue, some of them I will assume are, but Ross's is the only one that I've personally found that really works. But what I wanted to touch on, I guess what I aim to do is it's not just about saying, oh, look here, you're low in this, so we're going to give you this. It's about resetting the digestive system, because it's about absorption and assimilation. Number one, the quality of the ingredient. If it's a foreign ingredient, if it's a man-made nutrient, two things are going to happen. It's going to be missing the cofactors, the amino acids that the body needs to utilize it. So what's going to happen is the body's going to say, don't know what that is, see you later. Or it's going to say, okay, I kind of know what that is, but I need this. It's going to rob it from its own mineral stores to bind with that to make it work. Either way, you're still going to have a deficiency. So people that are celiacs, for example, if they have gluten, it actually blocks the absorption of iron. And I'm scared to think how many thousands of women are out there that have low iron, that are getting iron shots all the time, and they can't work out why they're constantly low on iron. Cut out the gluten, iron levels return to normal. So yeah, it's about giving the body the nutrients, detoxing, and rebalancing to make sure you can use the nutrients.
Yeah, I love that you just
That answer it?
yeah,
for sure.
and I like that you just touched on synthetic vitamins as well. So because that's something we talk about all the time. Yeah.
Well, you know, it was crazy when I started this, and surprisingly, I was apparently the first person ever to do certified organic to human standards. Everyone was just taking shortcuts. Like, I just could not believe how hard it was just to get an organic. And the reason they do that is because they can get a synthetic product, and for 2-3 years it'll be stable.
Yeah.
So whatever nutrient levels you're testing today will be the same in 2-3 years. It's too hard basket to go the organic route. Now what I'm loving and seeing is that more people are doing certified organic human standard. Literally, I had the organic certification people here. They thought I was nuts doing an animal thing. I had the council come out to give me a human food license, and they're saying, "Why are you doing this? It's not required." Like, she basically said, "You're mental." But I'm just so glad to see so many more people doing it because we love our dogs.
Yeah, for sure. It reminds me, like, when I go to the meat market, and we buy food for Milka, and they're like, what are you gonna do with all this food? Are you gonna eat all of this liver? And then I'm like, no, it's for my dog. And they yeah, like, what?
Are you crazy?
Are you like green lit mussels? What? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but
They'll catch on.
it's a good point also that you just brought up, because that's why, for example, Augustine Super Boost has only a 1-year shelf life, because there's absolutely no synthetic vitamins in there. It's all whole foods. And that's why a lot of the manufacturers won't go the entire natural route, because it only has a 1-year shelf life. And also, I feel like another reason why it's so incredibly hard to find real whole food and organic supplements that are really 100% whole and certified organic.
Absolutely.
Is because you can call your product organic even though it's not organic, and you can call your product natural even though it's not 100% natural. So I mean, there are so many shortcuts people can take. So
there's no legal definition to the word natural, and that's a scary thing. In South Korea now, we're selling quite a lot of the products, and the question that keeps coming up, and it's so hard because there's hundreds and hundreds of retailers there trying to change the perception. They keep complaining that the shelf life of the Augustine Super Boost is too short. And I've gotten to the point of saying, well, if you go to the fridge and get milk, are you upset that it doesn't last 2 months? You know, like, and it's just educating people on what they're getting, because they're so used to garbage, you know, synthetic garbage. And that's the thing. Like, if you say have an arthritis supplement, the trouble is that if it's synthetic, the body doesn't recognize it straight away like a whole food. So they'll take probably 2, 3, 4 weeks to start seeing benefits till the body starts doing something with it. Whereas with this, you see it in a few days because the body says, "Thank you very much. I know what it is and I need it. I'll take it."
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Honestly, it's just like, it's so amazing that, you know, like there is this option, you know, and that like, we're just talking about whole food. It's food, you know. It's literally it's what it is, you know. And
That's it.
it's like a basic, it's almost just like a basic knowledge, you know, but you know, it's just so rare, you know. So
Decades of marketing just taken us, completely diverted us from, you know, I think my father was telling me his grandfather had a dog. He'd literally walk out, cut a piece of bread and throw it in the air. Back then, that was the food they had, which is pretty horrible. But yeah, like, you know, go from that to this processed junk. Anyway, did I answer all your questions, or I hope I haven't missed anything?
We have one more question, but it's you kind of touched on it already, but the question is just if to help detox the body from over vaccination, would zeolite or faith be better?
Both. Don't muck around with that. Yeah, both. You'll notice, I think, a lot of dogs straight after vaccination, they'll have a bit of lethargy, diarrhea, and things like that. Bind as soon as you can. The longer toxins stay in the body, the more they lodge, the harder it is to get them out. And I should say, when any detoxing protocol, my belief, again, this is just from observation, if you're feeding, say, twice a day or once a day, irrelevant, but when you're putting the detox stuff in, and anything that's going to give them energy, you want to ideally give it to them in the morning or early. Don't let them sleep on it. Let everything shift around. And 3 P's I came up with: peeing, pooing, and panting. Dogs don't sweat like we do. These are all the things that are going to help them go. If you sit on your bum all day and you eat, you're less inclined to go to the toilet than if you're moving, getting your blood pumping. So we want them to have that energy in the day, and we want them to go to the toilet as much as possible and not sleep on it.
Okay, that's a really good idea as well, or good point. Awesome. Yeah. If there's no more questions from our live Facebook audience now, then we say thank you very, very much for this really awesome and informative time today. And if there's any questions later for anyone who's watching this after we went live, definitely just write your questions down below and we'll get to them and answer them. But thank you so much, Phivo.
Yeah, thank you. It was amazing.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. I hope I haven't talked too much, but yeah, I can't wait to share this with everyone here as well. I think you guys are doing great. I'm so happy to see you promoting good health in the UAE.
Yeah.
And lots of exciting things to come.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We're going to take this off now. And thank you. We will see you very soon.
Bye.
Thanks for everyone checking in. Okay. See ya. Bye.